Ladies and gentlemen. Well, maybe just like gentlemen with like a couple ladies sprinkled in there, but only white ladies and white gentlemen. I think basically what I'm describing is the current state of the Republican Party. This is Political Playlist Happy Hour.
Political revolution of the millennium.
Welcome to Political Playlist.
All right, are we ready, guys?
Happy Hour.
Happy Hour.
We fucked that up so bad.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Political Playlist Happy Hour. I'm Anna Muskie-Goldwyn.
I'm Anthony Barquette.
And we are bringing you into our group chat about politics and the next generation of leaders in our country. And it is Thursday, so we are talking about the politician on our playlist. And today you're getting a 2-for-1 because we are talking about two politicians on our playlist. And that is representatives, maybe soon to be senators, Ashley Hinson from Iowa and Julia Letlow from Alabama.
For starters, how much do you enjoy a 2-for-1 on Uber Eats or DoorDash? Do you ever get those?
I guess. I don't know if I like seek them out, but yeah. Is that like a simple pleasure that you indulge in?
Well, sometimes when it's like a good one, I'm like, yeah, I might save that for,
Oh, for sure.
Or you're with someone, you're like, yeah, should we do 2-for-1 burgers? Sounds great.
Cute.
Yeah. I'm never with someone. It's usually
I was gonna say, when are you with your mom?
It's usually because I'm a Gemini. It's my other personality. So I just eat 2 burgers.
Are we still in Gemini season?
Yeah, it's not going well, to be honest.
It's
no, I
not?
think we just started Gemini. Yeah.
No, you didn't just start Gemini season.
No. I mean, I think we just started the other.
What comes next? I don't know anything about astrology. Oh, okay. We're in Cancer season.
That's so weird for someone who lives in. Yeah, Gemini season ended yesterday.
All I know is that my astrological sign is a Taurus, which is like a bull, which I feel like is kind of representative of my personality. And
honestly, so weird that you lived in like Venice and that area and are not into this. But yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to tell
fine.
you. Yeah.
Well, we do want to talk about is some of the shifting demographics of the Republican Party in Congress before we get into our female senators. You sent a text the other day that was, I guess, not surprising, but kind of made me like gasp a little bit.
Yeah. Well, before we get into women, Anna, how many Black Republicans are serving in Congress?
Like 3? 4?
A bit more. Oh, one more than that. 5 Black Republicans are serving in Congress. There's 4 in the House and 1 in the Senate. So we have Byron Donalds, who's currently running for governor of Florida. We have Wesley Hunt, who ran for Senate of Texas. We have John James, who's running for governor of Michigan. We have Burgess Owens, who's a congressman from Utah. He's retiring. And we have Tim Scott, who's a senator from South Carolina. Now, all those guys I just told you who are running for something or retiring, they're all out. So there's going to be...
there's no one left, none left in the House, and still just the one senator.
Exactly. So if a Black person wins in 2026 who's running as a Republican, I don't imagine there's more than 4. Those numbers.
No, I don't even think there's any, to be honest.
I mean, that I was blown away by this stat.
Yeah.
And frankly, how Black people feel that the Republican Party is the party for them.
Yeah. It's so when you sent that, I think I forgot to respond, but what I wanted to respond was, I have to imagine it's a similar downward shift for women, not as extreme. There are more Republican women than there are Black Republicans, but in the Republican caucus, the height was 43. So let's say half of 435 is like 215. So there were 43 of those were women. That's a pretty low percentage. But that was the highest it's ever been in 2022. Now it's dropped down to 40. And in every recent election cycle, there is a drop in female Republican primary winners, which I think is actually really notable because you might have women make it to the general election, but the Republicans are the ones who are kicking out their own women in the primaries. It's not in the general election where you maybe have, a woman getting beat by a Democrat. You have them getting beat by a male Republican. And so for both women and Republicans and Latino Republicans, I would be curious to see the statistics on that, there seemed to be a moment in 2022 when I think we probably discussed on this podcast when it felt like, oh, maybe Republicans are going to start to try to diversify and kind of like see that they need to expand the tent, not just of their voters, but of the elected people in office. And there were some hopes for that. But then now we're in an administration where all the people who have been fired are women. There was the tragic case of Elise Stefanik, who was once, the shining star of the Republican Party and now will be out of politics forever. And yeah, I just feel like, I kind of held out hope. I'm not a Republican, but I was excited about the idea of like, oh, I do think if there are more women, more people of color within the party, that we can start to kind of see these shifts and potentially have some more agreement, but that doesn't seem like it's happening. However, it is happening for the two women that we're going to talk about today.
And honestly, that's why we're talking about two Republican women today. And
it is.
I will say, I think two men, these are two women congresswomen who are now going to probably have a very good chance of winning the Senate seat that they're running for. And their jobs will probably be replaced by men. But
totally. Totally.
in the current Congress, there's 150 women serving. That's 28% of all members. Anna, you kind of spoke to the amount of women went down a tiny bit. It's at least increased, over the last few Congresses.
Yes, in general, there are more women in Congress, but a lot of that is due to Democratic women running. I mean, 150, only 40 of them are Republican. That's a pretty big supermajority of Democratic women. So
exactly, 110 are Democratic women. Of those 40 Republican women, there's 31 Republican women in the House and 9 Republican women in the Senate. So, to give you, though, to put that in context, 42% of congressional Democrats are women. Like, that's almost a 50-50 split.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
I was actually impressed to see that. And then 15% of congressional Republicans are women. So a pretty, fairly large gender gap there.
Yeah.
But so the politician that you haven't heard of, which is on my playlist, is Julie Letlow. And she had a pretty interesting rise to Congress. She's a Republican congresswoman from the state of Louisiana.
Oh my God, I think I said Alabama at the beginning. Excuse me, everybody.
Fun fact, she was the first Republican woman ever to be elected to Congress from Louisiana.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's why there were Democratic women from that state, but she was the first Republican woman.
Wow.
Now, she's running for the U.S. Senate seat that is currently held by Senator Cassidy. And she entered in the race earlier this year, and she received an endorsement by Trump, which has definitely propelled her. And she also won the primary.
Yeah, she beat Bill Cassidy.
She beat Bill Cassidy. So
who has been a critic of Trump on the right, specifically around healthcare because he's a doctor.
So she's 45 years old, so she's going to be leaving the platform.
But we love her anyway.
The way she rose to power was a pretty tragic personal story. So her husband, Luke Letlow, had won Louisiana's 5th congressional district in 2020, but then died of COVID before taking office. So then she ran in the special election to fill the seat and won pretty overwhelmingly. But once again, she became the first Republican woman ever elected to Congress from Louisiana. She's a member of the pretty powerful committee, the House Appropriations Committee. And what she argues for Louisiana is that they need a senator who's more consistently aligned with the conservative base, which they felt has been lost with Senator Cassidy. And maybe just quickly, why does this matter just on a national level? This race has really attracted a lot of attention because it's one of those rare cases where a Trump-backed Republican challenged a sitting Republican senator. So many have like observed this as a test of Trump's influence within the GOP.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we saw that like in Indiana with the legislature, right? Like Trump suddenly endorsed all these like state representatives, which was unheard of because he didn't like the way that they came down on I forget what the policy was, but the gerrymandering that they didn't the redistricting. And you know, we've seen a couple examples of this around the country. And I will say, actually, I feel like most of the time it's been going in Trump's favor. There's been a couple of times where it hasn't, but with Representative Letlow, it certainly did go in Trump's favor. And you know what I find interesting about her is like it's kind of I feel the same way about Katie Britt, who is the senator from Alabama. I'm sorry, I made that mix up. I just so mean. I'm like it's like you're kind of boring. Like I don't really. I feel like they've been identified, I guess, as these people who can kind of like carry the mantle of the Republican Party, but I just find there to be no like dynamism in them that feels inspiring. And I think it's a larger statement about what's going on in the Republican Party right now, which is that the stars of the party are no longer these kind of like brash women. I mean, like Lauren Boebert's crazy, but remember when she was sort of like the shining star of the, you know, it's like it's the women who are being pushed are the ones who kind of are like wet blankets. And
to me, this is wild. Is like she's probably going to be senator. She has 5,000 followers on Instagram.
No way.
Like she has less followers than Political Playlist does.
Okay, well, don't make it sound like we have no followers. We have so many followers.
Those pathetic people.
Jesus, yeah. Why'd you drag us into this?
Sorry, I don't know why.
If you're not following us on Instagram, make sure you're following us on Instagram.
Yeah, it's a good time to
a little plug.
So tell us about like, your politician.
Wait, but before, I kind of feel the same way about the politician I'm going to talk about. But do you understand what I mean about sort of the wet blanketness of some of these Republican women? I mean, for example, the contrast to me is a representative like Kat Cammack from Florida, who I disagree with on a lot of things, but I find to be very dynamic. I find to be Anna Paulina Luna, I'd also put in this category. I find to be very good at social media, very good at communication, very good at kind of like, you know, supporting Trump in many ways. Anna Paulina Luna has broken with him a few times, but I find that some of these women who are really being elevated into these Senate races specifically or governor's races that I don't get it. I don't understand like what is so appealing about them other than that they are being loyal to the Trump administration. And
well, sometimes, especially in those states, it's probably easier to elect bland than it is to elect controversial.
Well, so here's maybe how we can transition to the next politician on our playlist.
That would be a good title for an article, by the way.
What?
Easier to elect bland than it is to elect controversial.
Well, you should go pitch it. What's, you know.
I'm not really a writer. I could barely speak English, so yeah. But, you know.
I'm not going to write it for you. But to that point, like maybe I'm being overly judgmental because let's talk about Ashley Hinson, who's from the great state of Iowa. So Representative Hinson went to USC, your alma mater. She got a degree. She got a degree. Go UCLA. She got a degree in broadcast journalism. She was then a news anchor in Cedar Rapids and won an Emmy for her work as a news anchor in Cedar Rapids. Then she was elected to the House in 2020 in a very close race. And she announced her Senate run in September of 2025, essentially as soon as Senator Joni Ernst announced that she would not seek a third term. Hinson has earned endorsements, importantly, of Trump, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, and Joni Ernst herself. She won the primary, and then she is now running against a man named Josh Turek, who is a Democratic state representative and a former wheelchair basketball Paralympian. Whoa. And yeah, pretty cool. See, I'm like, okay, I'm with like the basketball Paralympian. Like, I know. I want some of that juice.
I'm like, I'm so unaccomplished. God.
And here's the thing is that the race has shifted recently from likely Republican to lean Republican, which means less likely Republican. And there are a lot of Democratic efforts and money going towards the state of Iowa now. So Democrats have invested a ton of money. The Democratic organization Vote Vets spent nearly $10 million in the primary and then now in the general election. The Democratic Senate Majority PAC has $13.4 million earmarked for this general election for television ads. And, I think that this doesn't totally apply to Julia Letlow because I think Louisiana is a much safer Republican seat. This seat in Iowa, even though there hasn't been a Democratic senator from Iowa for quite some time now, I think that this is where Republicans are shaking in their boots a little bit. Because when we reference our episode earlier in the week about Iran, there are things that Trump is doing that are a little bit erratic, where people like Ashley Hinson are now having to sort of like answer for those things to moderate Republican voters and independent voters. And CBS News actually got audio from a campaign event where she acknowledged that the conflict in Iran had become, quote, a political liability, because I didn't know this, but some of the soldiers who have been lost are actually from Iowa.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so there's the war in Iran, which we have a lot of people in this state not agreeing with. And then there's also the tariffs. I'm sad Michael's not here to talk with us about it because he loves talking about tariffs. But guess what's in Iowa? There's a lot of farms. And farmers have been feeling this very acutely with the sort of back and forth of the tariffs and the uncertainty around them. They're certainly going to start to even feel more of the effects of the Iran war when it comes to the price of fertilizer, because a lot of the ingredients of fertilizer go through the Strait of Hormuz. Why are you laughing?
I have the best quote that I heard when I was in London.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, there was a debate with a Republican person in a pub and a Democratic person, and I was honestly just listening. Americans, and there were British people there, and the Democratic person made this comment, and I know this is going to generalize, but they're like, you and all the Republican friendly states, along with the 75 farmers that make up the great state of Iowa, can thank California for being the fourth largest economy and giving you guys all your federal funds. I was like, amazing.
Sick burn.
Kind of there was
in a pub in London.
No.
Well, I mean, that does, American politics are becoming world politics, whether we like it or not. But the point about farmers is like, that's a really important voting block in Iowa, a very important Republican voting block. And a lot of these people are not happy with Trump. So what I find really interesting in this race is that because it's closer, Hinson has to do this sort of balancing act of being supportive of Trump's policies so that the Republican base, MAGA voters, feel like she's their gal. But she also has to speak to some of these people who feel disenfranchised, who feel like things aren't going the way that they want to go, because she can't just rely on the steadfast Republican voter. She's going to need some of these moderates and independents to vote for her over the sick-ass wheelchair basketball Paralympian who is her competition. And I think that there's a lot of elected officials in this country right now on the Republican side who are finding themselves surprisingly in this position, because I think that we can look at somebody like a Mike Lawler who's in like a true purple district who has always had to walk that line. But I think you're seeing a lot more people in Republican districts, Republican states that maybe like they just need some independent voters, but not a lot of them, that now they're suddenly having to like figure out how to talk about all this stuff. And I don't know, like it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Letlow. When I'm looking at Hinson, I'm like, I don't know if you can do it. I don't know if you have like the charisma to go out there and like make sense of all this stuff for the voters that you need to sway.
Well, I think to your point, there's a lot more going on in Iowa than there is in Louisiana, and that she has to combat, I would say. And let's not forget, Iowa's one of the primary states, right, who decides the presidential election, which is always crazy to me.
So crazy.
And yeah, the fact that there's some of these, some of our soldiers who have died are from Iowa, that provides a whole nother like case of shit to deal with.
Yeah.
So
what do you think about this? I don't know why I just said that all weird. I'm talking like I'm from Louisiana. What do you think about this downturn of bolstering women, bolstering people of color on the Republican Party? And why do you think women like Letlow and Hinson have kind of broken through in this moment to be elevated in this way?
Oof, it's a good question. I think in Letlow's position, like to me, this is an easy win for her. Like they're getting rid of, and Republicans I think are better than Democrats at this. They're getting rid of an older like person who's been there forever, replacing them with someone who's going to be there for the next 40 years if they want to. They're young. I think Ashley Hinson has gotten a better like national profile a little bit lately. She had a tough race. Like her last congressional race wasn't easy. But I think she's been able to play under the scene over there too. And once again, there's not many like strong Republican women in these.
There aren't.
Yeah. And for them, I think it's safeguarding their like their states and the position, the Republicans in that area.
I mean, it is interesting to think about if Hinson gets elected, she's replacing a woman, Joni Ernst, and the governor of Iowa is also a woman, Kim Reynolds. Yep. And, we have a couple female governors and female senators on the Republican side who, I think have like certainly made names for themselves. I think we like Kay Ivey, who's a governor, and people like that. But I guess for me, and this is maybe two rose-colored glasses, but I think in 2022, I looked at someone like Elise Stefanik, and I was like, oh, that's what Republicans will want to push. Someone who is really dynamic and, don't get me wrong, she was playing the game for sure. But
You're saying too outspoken?
No. I'm saying, well, maybe that's what they think. I don't know. Yeah. Like maybe that's what it is. When I look at someone like Hinson or Letlow, I'm like, are they, oh God, this is so horrible to say, but it's like, are they just sort of like good traditional women? And, that's maybe what the Republican Party wants right now. I would say the same thing about Katie Britt. Whereas when you look at the men in the Republican Party, they're like fucking going off time and time again. Look at Josh Hawley. Like he's,
I think it speaks to those constituents more, probably. Sure. I mean, like in Elise Stefanik being from New York, I think that type of woman was a bit more outspoken as well.
Yeah,
right?
I'm obviously generalizing. I think totally. That where I get annoyed is like, I think in order for us to make progress as a country, both parties need to diversify the types of people that they put into elected office. And that diversity doesn't just come from your gender or the color of your skin, but I think it comes from the way that you express yourself and the way that you present your ideas. And I think that the Democrats have recently been doing a better job of that by creating the Big Tent that they've always claimed to have, but I think lost a little bit under the Biden administration by, sort of a surge in progressive power in retaliation to Trump. On the Republican side, it seemed like there was an opportunity for some of these powerful women, interesting people of color with personal backgrounds that led them towards being a conservative in a community where that was probably either looked down upon or unexpected. And all those people are being pushed out, have tried running for higher office and failed. I think Byron Donalds might succeed. We'll see. But I just feel, I think that as someone who cares about the unity in our country and in our politics, I feel like the Republican Party is not elevating the people who can begin to try to strive towards that type of unity, because the only people on the Republican side who are pushing any sort of like bipartisan effort or feeling of unity are white men. And like, that's fine. But I think that identity, unfortunately, is a part of politics. And I just feel like we need different types of people and different types of thought within each party. And when I look at, these women who are very accomplished, I assume very capable at their jobs to get where they are, in Julia Letlow and Ashley Hinson, I'm happy that there are young women out there who are pushing the envelope, but I just feel like they're not the Republican women that are going to change the way that the parties interact with each other. And maybe that's what I find disappointing.
You always wrap everything up in a nice little bow at the end.
Oh,
so that's the perfect place to end.
I'm a cute little woman.
Yep.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode and you like what we do here at Political Playlist, please make sure you are following or subscribed wherever you are tuning in, and leave us a review. Leave us some stars, preferably 5 of them. If you leave us a negative review, we might text it to each other and make fun of it. But we much prefer a positive review. So go ahead and do that, and we will see you next time.
Cheers.